This is just a quick tutorial on how to add clickable buttons to a list view in the site area of your component. Buttons that trigger events on the server, which then either download something or updates records or something of the sort, which are public links or links that are controlled through permissions. This all depends on your level of programming skill, I suppose. So just a quick, I'm going to try and do this quickly. You first of all, I have a package here called Distributor, which really, let's see. Okay, there are others, but they are not public. Um, this one is public, cost benefit projection. This one is also public, which also demonstrates quite a bit of this. But maybe the easiest one to go with is Distributor. So if you don't have a package key, you get the key by following the instructions on this page over here. And so then you would simply come back here, import the package, make sure that it passes the checksum, and also validate that this number here is the number you find at this URL here, and that this URL is the https raw github usercontent.com URL. And force local update, make sure we're importing the Simon distributor, and we want to merge if it exists. If you still don't have the key, you could click on this link here. It'll also give you the same tutorial of how to document and how to get the key. So I've added the key, we click continue. So what I'll be demonstrating is the fact that this is a specific preacher, and he has a number of links here, including save to Dropbox, download, which is a downloadable link. These links are just two different views. So if you were to click on the specific link, it will basically take you to where you could listen to that specific sermon. If you go back, you could click on this link, it will take you to the series of those sermons, and again you're faced with links, Dropbox, to open, to download. If you were to click on, for example, find the hand of God, click on save to your Dropbox, it will actually redirect you to Dropbox where this specific sermon is, and you can automatically add it to your Dropbox. Okay. Or if you click on this link, it'll actually open up a download box, which means that these are all links that actually trigger custom behavior based on this specific item, including even this opening of this specific sermon. And those links exist here again. So there are really a number of ways to do this. I just simply used basic build my own controller, and where I didn't, I just used a link. So this is just a simple H link to the actual, if you look there at the bottom, it's just a link to Dropbox. So it's not really fancy. I just know that link, I've stored it in the database, that's how I generate this. Okay. Whereas the other one, the download, is actually triggering a task equal download.file. You see there? At the bottom of the screen, it shows you the link. Now, it's obviously a very long link. If I was to copy this and let's paste it into a text document, you see this is a massive long link. And it's because it actually is locked. It changes every so many minutes, so that people can't leech off this website. They need to come here to download the material. Those kind of little tricks are done via the link. So it has a key, which is really a long string, and then it has a file name. And it's the file name that you actually see come up when you hover over the download. So it shows you the whole file link, and basically, yeah. So I'm going to demonstrate how to build that, which is really easy. You just need to know a little bit more than yeah, than your average web user, I suppose. Okay, so we've imported the package. Here it is, Summon Distributor, and it's got all its admin views. It's got some, I don't think it's got custom views, does it? But it's definitely got site views, and really that's where you want to go. So we go to site views, and we have here called Preacher, and this is the site view. If I go back to, for example, this Preacher, this is its site view. Now, Summon Distributor has many different layouts per site view, so that's even a whole different topic. This is simply the form layout. There is, if we go, for example, to the series page, this is the box or the panel layout. That's right. And so you see now it's like panels, and you can sort them via some sort method. This is all in the JCB package which you just imported. All that functionality and how we achieve that is demonstrated here. But you need to know JCB well enough to sort of follow its trace. So I'm going to take Preacher, which is the one we are looking at. And, well, you need to realize it has a main get called sermons preacher.id, which really is a hint that the way Preacher is built is really based on a number of sermons returned, not as such just the Preacher. So if we open this dynamic get, we see that it actually functions on the get integer ID of the Preacher, and also checks the access level, and that it's published, orders it by ascending, so based on your ordering of your sermon, because here it is getting the sermons, right? Now in the sermon table there is a Preacher value, that's why we use the A, but we still join the series and the Preacher's information into this query, as well as some static values and the category name also. This all is just one dynamic get query. And then in the custom script area is really where we build the link, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that's right. This is where we build the link. So here we are having after getting the items, we are adding some custom code here. So here we just check whether there are items, and then we start looping over them, and then I build a few little tricks here, and let's see, we go down. Over here I'm building the series link, or basically slug, the category slug, and then here I'm taking the main link, which is the main slug, which already is built. I don't need to build that. So then I'm using the get sermon route, which is it's in the helper route class. So if you want to see how it works, you go to the helper route. I'll show you that in a moment. And get sermon route, then get series route, and get category route with its respective slugs. And I basically build the sermon link, the series link, and the category link. And then a get download link is a helper function that I wrote, and I basically pass it the whole item, and it builds a download link for me. Now we can go look at this get download link, but it's really beyond. It's not, well, you can build this link any way you like. I just decided that it's quite complex and I don't want it here. I want it centralized because I'm using it everywhere. So I build a helper function for it. So that means let's go look at this helper function. We just copy that name, close out of this view, out of this main get, then go to the component, component, and we go to Summon Distributor, and we have this libs and helpers, and we just search for that, and here it is. So it gets the sermon, and then we do a whole lot of things. But what you need to sort of pay attention to here is really just this line here. This is the main line which you need to do a lot of other things maybe with regards to extra what's the word, variables that you want to pass to your controller, whereas the controller's name is download, and we'll look at that now in a minute. Maybe I'm mixing that up, so let's just look at that when we get there. So first thing I'm doing is I am making sure that I've got the form token here, and I'm adding it here as a variable to my URL so that I can still validate, because this form token sort of prevents a lot of things from going wrong. And then I've got some other stuff that I add in here, like the key counter. I've got some encryption stuff going on here, encrypt string. If you don't understand this is just me building the necessary stuff that I need in the controller. Now the controller is where we're going to process this information, but we're passing it in a way that people, if they tamper with it, it just doesn't work. So it's sort of a security measure. I don't think you would need, actually, because it's just a download. You want people to download it, so you just want to prevent them from doing anything else. And so there's a whole lot of fixing here, and all types. You see, there are different types of links. In the system you can have different types of links, and then there's also the Dropbox linking and how it builds that, and so on and so on. And at the end we're just done, because we unset a few values from the ID, from the item, you see, whereas we now add a download link and an on-click value, and we also if it's more than one download, it has its own file name and so forth, because there could be more than one download in one sermon. So this could be multiple downloads for this one, and then the button changes automatically. So it's why it's a little bit more advanced. But this is just, you can see this code. When you've imported the JCB package, you can look at this code and you can try and understand how it works, tamper with it, compile the component, go look at the code that is then built. I'm sure there's a lot of things I would do differently if I was to do this over. I've learned more, and I'm sure I could do a better job today than I did before. But now there's another piece of the puzzle which is quite important, and that is that I'm actually adding a custom controller. So if I open this area, which is adding component files and folders, if I scroll down here, let's see, where is it? Just trying to see where is that file. Okay, so here it is, download controller.php, and it is in the custom. Wait, this isn't it. I'm in the wrong place. I'm in Joomla component builders file set. Sorry about that. Sermon I was saying things don't look right. Okay, so here we've got it. Download controller, sermon distributor. Okay, there's another one, whereas this is the one included here. And we do a update of the file, so it's stored in the custom folder. So there's the path to the custom folder. It's a controller I wrote. I'll go show you that in a moment. And I'm saying when it packages it into the component, it should add it to the site controllers download.php. So that is the file name, and we should have the file updated. So changing the name from that name to this name, and also all placeholders inside of it gets updated. And then there are some other helpers and stuff you could have a look at. I don't use any advanced stuff here. Okay, so that's just the extra file which you now need to custom code and then place in your custom folder to grab into your component. Now let me show you that file in the code. Okay, so if you don't already know this, then you have administrator, components, component builder, and a folder called custom. That's the same path that we just looked at over here when I hovered here. It's basically administrator, components, component builder, custom. And it's a folder which you can add files to, which you want to include easily into your component. Okay, there are an advanced way of doing this as well, which I'm going to demonstrate now. So back to the code. Inside of this I have a lot of folders, and actually here is a file called download controller sim distributor. So I added the normal BOM, which basically means it's going to take away this value and add your licensing for your component. Then I added this, so it will basically use your component name. Also here it will use your component name, and it will be you can change this from download to whatever the value is. If we go back out of this into sim distributor, and we again search for that download link boulder, whatever this value is, it's what your controller's name should be. Okay, so in this case download, and the file name must also be download. Okay, then I have a function called download here, and in it I have a case, the task called file. And so you'll see that I'm now, from the URL, I'm using this get method to get a number of strings, which I then do validation, and based upon that you can then either grab other models, update items, or start a download. So whatever you want to do here is really up to you. I'm just showing you how I build a downloader for a bunch of things that I have, in this case sermons. And so you can update this file, give it a new name. Instead of sim distributor, call it my customized controller or whatever. You can call this file anything you like, as long as it doesn't conflict with any other file here. And then you can rename it on the fly through that method I showed you just now. Let's open that. This method. You add the target path with the new file name, and you tick this box to update. So it will rename this file for you. And here you can customize or custom code the behavior. Now, there is such a thing as trying to separate your logic from your controller, and for that you would then need to maybe target a model where you've added the logic of your request. Now, to do that, you could either write in some code here, okay, because you're just lazy or think it's so not right. But if you want to do it MVC style, really seriously, JCB has a method in its helper class. So I'm going to show you that. Oh wait, this is get model. There it is. Now the get model is a helper class that you can use to get any model. So what does that mean? That means if you, for example, in your component, let's say you went to your admin view and you decided, I'm gonna take, let's just get to an admin view. I'm gonna take the preacher admin view, and under the custom buttons I am going to not add a controller to the edit view, but to the list view I am going to add some method here. So just a simple get some stuff in your code here, or set. I mean, you could set or get depending on what you want to do. Just make sure this name doesn't conflict with other already existing class methods, so that you don't by accident override any. Okay, so then you're going to pass an ID or whatever variable you have. Now in this case, our controller is going to be the single record. Wait, no, we set the list one, which is preachers, plural. So back in the custom code, if I was to demonstrate this here, so once I'm in this case and I've got all the information I need, I can literally do this. So I basically just wrote this line here. Now, what does it say? It says, well, from the helper class, get model preachers. And this path here is to ensure that it doesn't call the site view preachers model, but the administrator's view preachers model. And it adds that model into this variable here. And now to execute your model logic, you would simply do something like that. So you would basically execute the method get some stuff with whatever variable you need to go over there. You could add as many as you like, and the result dump it in here, and if it's not false you can do something or continue. Okay, so this is just normal PHP to sort of make sure you get results set. And then in your model, of course, you need to return false if something didn't work out. Okay, so that is just, I know there's a lot of things that I'm not explaining, but it's because it's really up to you to figure out these things and to learn about them. This is really not a hack. This is Joomla's way of dealing with requests. Is you have a controller and it needs to do some validation, and then it executes tasks, and those tasks are being registered up here. So this is really how you register the task. And then you have this function called download, which is the word used here, right? And also in your URL. And then we are doing a form token validation here, which is really a long way. There are shorter ways to do it. And then we check the task. If this task is file, we do that, and we could have multiple tasks. So you, instead of just having, in this case, one task, we now have multiple tasks available by just adding more tasks here. So that's all you need to know to do a controller according to Joomla's API quite easily. Now I'm using the legacy controller. You could use others, it's up to you. And that's it. I'm sure this should get you on your feet to easily set up buttons, which then when clicked executes back to the server certain tasks. You need to make sure that if it's a specific user alone that can do this in a specific group, you need to know how to determine that in your controller. Don't try to pass information which you can't encrypt. If you don't know how to encrypt information via the URL, then JCB does demonstrate some of that, but there are easier ways. I've since found easier ways to deal with this, but this way does work very firm and stable. It always works every time. So it is this implementation of the framework on framework encryption, AES. It does work well, and it's an internal encryption, so it's easy, it's strong. Yeah, there you go. I'm going to just close off then with saying we just chose this as a way to add our method to this model. But you don't necessarily need to do it this way. You could have just as well, instead of targeting a model, you could have added a helper class, right? You could have used another helper class to deal with whatever you wanted to do. It doesn't need to be a model. That is just MVC to sort of keep things in models and controllers. Okay, well, thanks for watching. That was 25 minutes. Sorry, I tried my best to keep it short. Enjoy.